Mistakes, mistakes, mistakes. There might be a lot of mistakes that you are currently doing with your PPC ads. If you've recently launched your product, or if you're currently selling your product on Amazon and you're not getting good results, you need to watch this video. If this is your first time watching a video on this channel, hi, my name is Crystal. I'm an Amazon seller and I'm the founder of Amazon Sellers Society. Our mission is to help entrepreneurs and small businesses sell successfully on Amazon in the Middle East. If you want more information, just click the links in the description box below. You launched your product on Amazon. You're not getting good sales, or you're making a few mistakes. Maybe you don't know you're even making those mistakes. A lot of mistakes. My favorite is the last one that we're going to be talking about. Me and Mina Elias, PPC University legend and the CEO of MMA Nutrition, in this 5th episode of our series PPC to Win. Let's go. Lots of common mistakes might happen when somebody, launches their product on Amazon, or even if they're currently selling on Amazon. So we've compiled a video full of mistakes and what to do and how to, solve those mistakes, or basically how to not make those mistakes. So mistake number 1, should I be indexing as or showing up as the number 1 product in my main keyword in order for the ad to be functioning perfectly and in order for me to be making the right amount of sales?
No. So again, very, very common misconception is to think that you have to be on the top of the search. It's like saying when you go into a store, the only way you're going to sell is if you're the first product on the shelf. It's not really like that. You walk into a store, any clothing store, whatever, and you walk around and you see a bunch of different things. You don't have to be the first one to make sales. So don't think that if you're not the top of the search on page 1, that you're not going to sell. You don't have to be. Now, here's a few things you can do to double check that. Number 1, understand what your product is and how the buyer psychology for that product is. So, for example, for something like supplements or clothes or whatever, you're not like, okay, what's the first one? Buy it. You're more like, let me look at all the different options. Let me go to page 2. Let me go to page 3. So understanding that buyer psychology is very important, because if your product is more like, okay, I want to browse, then you know that the lower that you show up, obviously you don't want to show up on page 7, but if you show up maybe bottom of page 1 or middle of page 2, you know that the person who's scrolling,
not page 2, middle of page 1, not page 2, that's too much. But yeah.
No, but if a person scrolls down that far and they click on you, they have a higher buyer intent.
True.
So your conversion and your ACOS might be way, way better if you show up a little bit lower. And you also need to understand, is your category a window shopping category?
Yeah.
Are there a lot of people who open, electrolyte powder, click on the first one. What is this thing? And, and they're just looking at images. I'm like, you just cost me $1.50 just because you're curious. No, I don't want to waste money. And you just want to show up a little bit lower. So the people who click on you actually have an intent to buy. So don't worry too much about the top of the search. Another way to confirm that is go look at your placement reports. In your placement reports, it'll tell you the performance in 2 placements, top of the search on first page and detail pages or product pages for all of your campaigns. If you notice that on the top of the search, your ACOS is very, very good, okay, then you're like, let me shoot for top of the search on page 1. But if you notice that your ACOS is normal and maybe it's even better in product pages or it's even better in rest of the search, then don't worry too much about it.
Yeah, perfect. Second misconception or second mistake would be basically negativing keywords left, right, and center as soon as you find like in a 1 or 2 days you're not getting any sales from them.
Okay, so again, I see this all the time because people will run an auto campaign. they'll see their spend go up. They'll go into the search term report, see a couple things with high ACOS, negative them exactly. So few issues with that. Number one, Amazon attribution is delayed up to 7 days and almost 100% in 7 days. So for example, I can look at a keyword and the ACOS could be 100%. And then 7 days later, I can look at that keyword 7 days ago. So the same time period, and it could be 50%. So Amazon is so delayed in reporting the results that if you go in too quick and you look at the results and you make decisions based on those results, you're basically making decisions based on inaccurate data. So you don't want to do that, because a keyword that might look like it's bad could actually be very good. And a keyword that might look like it's good could actually be very bad. So you don't want to make premature decisions. So wait 2 or 3 weeks and then look at the keywords, and then don't be so quick to negative. If the ACOS is like over 100, 150, if the keywords are irrelevant, okay, then you can negative those in the auto campaigns. But again, let there be enough data. General rule of thumb is wait for 20 clicks on one keyword, so it's like kind of matured a little bit, and then make a decision. So if after 20 people see it, your conversion rate is, or your ACOS is still too high after that attribution period. So, let's say we launch November 1st. You're going to wait till like November 21st and look at the period November 1st to November 14th. So you're looking at the first 2 weeks, 7 days after those 2 weeks passed. And then you're looking back and saying, okay, how are things there? And everything got 20 clicks and so on and so forth. And then based on those, you're looking and making a decision. And at that point, it's okay. But don't make premature decisions, because you might not have good enough data, and you might not give the keyword a chance to even perform, because maybe, got a little bit of clicks, and also as you get more and more reviews, your product will perform better. So don't be too quick to negative. And if you do negative, if you start at 5 reviews, when you have 150 reviews, remove those negatives and then give it another chance. Maybe it's going to do a lot better now that you have way more reviews.
Perfect. Something also very related to the same mistake is basically when you negative in broad and then you add it in phrase, stuff like that. Can you just elaborate a little bit more about that?
So for some reason, there's this conception that you have to, when you run a keyword in broad, or run a campaign, a broad campaign, and then you discover keywords that are performing well, you negative them in the broad, put them in the phrase, and then you negative them in the phrase, put them in exact. So I guess the reason is because when you negative them in broad, they won't compete with in phrase. This is not correct, because the way broad, phrase, and exact works is very different. In exact, the keyword is triggering for that one keyword. In phrase, that one keyword is triggering for 20 keywords. So it's like almost like you're getting an average of a team of 20 people. And then in broad, it's triggering for like 50, 60, 70 different keywords. So thinking that when you negative in that, they're not going to compete, it does not make sense, because they're not competing. They're performing completely differently. One keyword is like 70 keywords in one. The other one is 30 keywords in one. The last one is one keyword alone. So they perform very differently. If you ever discover anything in the search term reports, extract them and run them as all 3, broad, phrase, and exact, because every single one of them will have very different performance, and then judge them based on their own performance. So judge them based on, okay, the broad is doing good, I'm going to keep it. The phrase is doing not so good, I'm going to lower the bid. Exact is doing good, okay, I'm going to keep it. And so many people are like, oh, I found this keyword in broad, it was doing amazing in broad, but then it does bad in phrase and exact. I'm like, okay, because in broad, it's not that one keyword that was doing amazing, it's that keyword that was triggering for so many different keywords. And maybe that one time that the customer clicked on that keyword at that moment, it did well, but it doesn't mean that, okay, because it did well in that period, it should do well forever.
Got you. Well, however, something very related to this and a mistake is having multiple ad groups in the same campaign. So that is not is something that you don't want to do, correct?
Correct. So another mistake that people make, or I like to say it's a mistake. Obviously, if you want to do it. But
of course,
there's a few things that we cannot control in Amazon. One of those things is how Amazon distributes the budget between different ad groups. Now, if you have $100 budget in your campaign level and you have 2 ad groups, you would imagine it's going to be 50-50, but that's not how it is. Sometimes it's 90-10, sometimes it's 80-20. And obviously that is like an unknown factor, and you don't want to have these unknown factors. You don't want to think that you're bidding on 20 keywords, but you're actually bidding 90% on these 10 keywords and 10% on these 10 keywords. So always setting up your campaigns, I like to do 1 campaign, 1 ad group, and then the 10 keywords. And the reason, and we're going to talk about another mistake, which is why I only do 10 keywords, but I like to keep it all linear, because I think Amazon is eventually going to catch up to like Google ads and stuff like that, where you can set the campaign at an ad group level, but right now you can only set it at a campaign level. So for you to get all of the campaign budget to those keywords, you need to keep it linear and not have it branch off into multiple ad groups.
100%. I don't know, we're on mistake number whatever. I don't know where we're at, but also let's talk about what you just you talked about. So having too many keywords, and this is something that a lot of new sellers do, because obviously they're very motivated and they want to get sales. So they just put keywords and create keyword campaigns. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, so based on me testing out so many different amounts of keywords in all these different campaigns, and seeing how other people's performances are, I've come to the conclusion that between 5 and 10 is the best. Any more than 10, you start really not getting impressions for a lot of keywords. Now, a lot of people will put in like 100 keywords in one campaign and think that they're targeting 100 keywords. But the reality is, Amazon says, okay, what are the best performing ones? Which ones are going to get us the most traffic? Let's just send all the budget there. Why would we, send money to all of these other ones that might not get as good results as the top ones? What ends up happening is they'll get impressions for 10, and then for the other 90, they're really not getting any impressions. And you think you're targeting 100, but in reality, you're only targeting 10. And, that's a big problem, because, you're only targeting 10 out of the 100. So I usually stick to around 10 keywords per campaign. I've seen that do pretty well. And so no more than 10 keywords per campaign. And then I think that will lead right into, okay, what kind of keywords are you putting to each other? That will lead into the bully effect. And so when you do put, keywords together in a campaign, be careful. Another mistake, be careful as to not put a very high search volume keyword with a very low search volume keyword. Because again, Amazon is going to say, okay, if I send money to this high search volume keyword, then I'm going to get way more impressions, and people are going to see the product more. So why should I send money to the low impression keyword? And, I see people make that mistake a lot. I've made that mistake before. And I'm like, why are these other keywords not getting any impressions? And then I realized, well, Amazon's just favoring the high impression one. And so make sure that when you put keywords together in the campaigns, you sort by impression, and you keep the high impressions together and the low impressions together.
100% for sure. And that's what we call the bully effect, that you just just renamed that. You named that yourself. So what about the set it and forget it issue, where people just create an ad campaign and then they go to sleep, or I don't know what they do, but they just don't look at it anymore? What about that? What about that mistake?
So I don't know why people do that, because they really think if they create PPC campaigns and then they leave it, that they're going to perform well. So set it and forget it, very common. A lot of people who it can be daunting. But PPC is not easy. It's difficult. You have to look into a lot of spreadsheets and do a lot of research and all this stuff and optimize. And so it can be daunting. It's almost like financials and profit and loss and all, that stuff is like scary, And so a lot of people will set it and then forget it and say, well, we'll just let the PPC run. And it's not going to be like that, because you need to constantly be improving your PPC, and it should be almost like a cycle. The cycle should be as follows. You're going to launch campaigns, discover keywords, target those keywords, optimize your bids, refresh any old keywords, which basically means if you lowered the bids significantly for certain keywords that weren't performing, increase them again to see if they're going to perform in the future, and then repeat the whole cycle again. Launch more campaigns, discover more keywords, bid on more keywords, optimize more keywords, and then refresh old bids, and keep going and going and going. And you're going to notice again that you're launching more and more and more campaigns. You're discovering more and more keywords. And at the end of the day, like when I look at Hydrolite right now, it gets around 1.2, 1.3 million impressions a month. And so that's 1.2 times million times people have seen my product somewhere. Having that visibility, that's going to add to your brand. And a lot of people, it's like psychologically, they'll mistake like familiarity for legitimacy. And so
100%.
seeing you more and more and more, they're going to say, oh, this is a legitimate brand. I've seen it a million times.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, you might just be a small brand starting out, but because your PPC is really good, people are seeing you a lot and they're like, you know, I trust this and I'm going to buy it.
That's you know, what you just said is fantastic, because I do get a lot of questions of people asking, well, how can I compete with major brands on Amazon? And to be quite honest, it's actually very easy to compete with major brands on Amazon.
You can look like one.
You can look like one. And that's, you know, Amazon for me is the great equalizer, because, you know, you've got the same exact things like all of those major brands. You just need to, you know how to play the game. Last mistake, and this is something that both of us see a lot of people do, and it's understandable, of course, people simply give up too easily. So what do you think about that? Obviously, we're saying as it relates to PPC ads. So basically, they launch their product, they launch an auto campaign, they see no sales, and then they are defeated. And they think, well, it has to be the marketplace. It's probably Amazon. Maybe it's the product. Maybe I did a mistake. I should have stayed as a pharmacist or an accountant or I don't know what, engineer. Like, you know, entrepreneurship is not for me. I knew this was all a scam. No. You know how it is. Yeah. So what do you think?
Yeah. So, I mean, so the only time that you will ever fail is if you quit. Because if you never quit, you'll never fail. And I see too many people blaming their product, their industry, Amazon, PPC is, you know, too much. Amazon is scamming you, trying to take your money. Understand this. If there's someone else doing it, if I can do it, if you can do it, then everyone else can do it. We're not magicians. We're not pulling any magic. We don't have a deal with the devil. We're just, we did all the hard stuff that everyone hates. And now we're at a point where we're making money because we learned all the mistakes. And trust me, if there's anyone that's made mistakes, it's me. I've made so many mistakes because I started out in the Amazon game, not knowing anything. No YouTube videos were out, no courses, nothing. And so I struggled and made all the mistakes early on, and that's where I am today. So don't be afraid of making mistakes. If you do look and you see, okay, my ads are not there, my sales are not there, it's fine. You just have to continuously work on it, continuously improve it. One thing for sure will make you fail is if you quit, because once you quit, that's it, you failed. It's not a scam. Amazon is also pay to play because Amazon wants you to spend money so you can show up there. Why would they just be like, oh yeah, organically show up there when I have 1,000 other people in line? I'm like, if someone selling electrolyte powder says, yeah, I'm gonna organically show up there, I'm telling Amazon, hey, I'll pay you $3 if you show me on top of this guy. I'm trying to like win over everyone. So if I'm willing to take out my checkbook, pay money, there's much bigger people than me that are willing to do the same thing. Amazon's like, okay, we'll take your money. Give us all the money. We'll take
really?
Yeah. So Amazon will take your money. So Amazon's becoming pay to play. Yeah. It's like, okay, since everyone's willing to take out their money and, spend so they can show up more, let's take their money. And so if you don't do that, you're not going to show. It's a pay to play. And they did not make it unfair. Amazon is not making the playing field unfair. Amazon's number one goal is to have the best customer experience. Mm-hmm. The best customer experience means when Mina or when Crystal show up on my website and they search something, I show them the best results for them. And so it's their goal is to make your product sell. They want you to sell because number one, they're taking 15% referral fee for doing nothing, or just having like their platform. Obviously, they're doing a lot. Yeah. And then number two, they're taking your fulfillment. They're taking fulfillment fees to send the stuff to the customer. So they make a lot of money off of you selling. They make the same amount of profit that you make. It's like almost like the manufacturer 30%, you 30%, Amazon 30%. You guys are partners in the business. They're making a lot of money. They don't want you to lose. If you're losing, if you're not making sales, it's your mistake. It's not Amazon. They want you to win. They want to sell your product as much as possible. They make money on the PPC. They make money after you sell the product. They own the customer. So, and they're getting more data from the customer. They're like, oh yeah, this customer likes, supplements. Let's show him more supplements. Let's bring him these new supplements. And they look at your behavior, and I'm sure we all signed agreements that allow Amazon to basically follow our browsing history, and figure out what we want, and then show that to us higher in the search. So trust me, do not give up.
Giving up is honestly the worst thing that you can do when you set out to become an entrepreneur and when you set out to get control of your life and your career. I know it's not easy. However, all the tools that you need in order to improve, you can find them, they're out there, and you can become, or you can build the type of business that you've always wanted to. Reach out to us, leave a comment below if you have any questions, and you can also find all our contact details in the description box below. I will see you in another video with more information. Bye.